Hi guys! Today we're starting Module 3 of your Math 3 course, and this is the final piece that you need to complete this course successfully. This module is dedicated to probability and statistics, and we're going to start with topic 11, which is data collection. Okay, so have you heard, for example, the weather news report where they tell you a number that has a probability of something to happen? I'm going to take the example of the rain. So usually you get a 20%, 30%, 40% of probability to get a rainy day. Based on this number, you can take decisions. One could be take out your umbrella, for example, in order to avoid getting wet. So this number is possible to get after we have collected data and we have analyzed it in order to get this little number that means something to us. Okay, so the branch of mathematics that it's in charge of analyzing data or working with data, it's called statistics. Statistics has in between its tasks to gather, organize, analyze, present, and most important of all, to interpret the information or the data that we are having there or we have collected. We can have a bunch of information, but if it doesn't tell us something, then it's not useful. So statistics can have or usually have two main stages. The first one is the descriptive statistics. This is everything that is done with the data up to before analyzing it. So, for example, it's going out into the field, asking the questions in order to get the information, writing down the information or crossing out crosses or selecting some data or some numbers from a list of numbers that we have. Just like the INEGI people do. If you have seen these people while they are working, they usually have a piece of paper with all the information that they need to collect. This part is called descriptive statistics. Once we have all the information collected, we usually take that information and try to interpret it. This is the part that it's called inferential statistic. This means that we are trying to give some meaning to these numbers, and we can take decisions upon those numbers that we get at the end. Two important concepts, guys. One is called population and the other one is called sample. So the population represents everything or any element that has a characteristic or similar characteristic with another. So we can have a population of 2, for example, or more people, usually it's more, or more elements, and we can say a characteristic in common for all of them. So for example, we can say all the people that live in Mexico. Okay, so that will be the population. But sometimes we cannot go ahead and just take information from every single element from that population because it could cost many time, many effort, and maybe some money. So what we do is use a sample or samples. A sample is a good representation of the population, and it includes elements that can have different values based on the population, so that we can infer that the sample is or that the population is going to behave as the sample does. Okay, so in this case of all the people in Mexico population, we can have a sample of people from Nuevo León, Querétaro, Yucatán, and Oaxaca, and we can take a good representation of the population in Mexico. Okay, and we also handle variables here, guys, so you are not safe from those. So a variable in statistics represents a characteristic of a population or a sample. It's really important to keep in mind that population or sample are different, even though they kind of try to look for the same or represent the same, they are different, okay? A variable can be qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative means that it doesn't really have value to be measured with. So for example, the satisfaction surveys are a good example of this. They ask you if you are satisfied, strongly satisfied, neutral, not satisfied, or just satisfied of some certain service or object that you bought or product. Okay, so usually we put numbers to those variables, but it's not really a number, and it's easier for the people to relate to the word instead of a number. Okay. Quantitative variables are those that can be measured in numbers. So this would be, for example, the height, the weight, the age, or any other number that you can think of that can be measured in numbers. And finally, guys, we have other key concepts that you should be aware of when talking about statistics. The first one is data, and data represents every value that you get from an element that you are studying. So, for example, if I run a survey in the classroom asking for the age of your parents, for example, of your mom, then I would ask this question to each one of you, and you're gonna get me an answer, each one of you. Even though they can be repeated, I have to record each answer from you in order to get 26 different answers or similar answers from you. Okay, each of these answers represent the data. Then we have experiment. Experiment is what we do to obtain this data. So in this case, what would be the experiment? The experiment would be me asking the question and you getting me an answer. That would be the experiment. This experiment is usually repeated, and it gets different data each time. And then we have parameter and a statistic. A parameter relates to a population, and it usually just describes a value or a characteristic of the population. So when we talk about parameter, we are describing the full population. It's important for you to remember that the P of parameter goes with the P of population, because on the other hand, statistics, the S of statistics goes with the S of samples. So a statistic is it's a number or a value that describes the data of a sample. These two are different, even though they try to signify the same. Okay. Okay, guys, so this is all for the basics of statistics. I hope you like it, and I wanna thank you for your time, and we'll be talking soon in class. See you.